Man, creator of Conscious Shifting, and welcome to Conscious Shifting. Before we get started, a quick warning and disclaimer. Conscious shifting and all known side effects will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while providing the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you live the life of your dreams and influence the world in a positive way. So, if that's something that interests you, you can follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube and then join us here Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. California time for Conscious Shifting. The best way to communicate with us is through our daily thought provoking posts during a live or a replay of a live. Simply place your question in the comment box and we will respond from a spiritual perspective for the benefit of all. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. And we have sound. All right, everybody take a deep breath way down to the belly button and exhale. And another big deep breath and relax as you exhale. And one more time, big deep breath and relax. All right, here we go. I see Kim and Trey and Cheryl, love, laugh, and be happy in the house. All right, so let's start with the question. Actually, there's two questions of the week, and the first one turned out to be multiple questions. So the last one's the one that I was going to do, but I figured I'd do the whole thing. So the question was with regards to a post, one of the video posts that was up there. And he said, you might want to give some thought to why you have to die. So I thought I'd just respond with the physical bodies that we temporarily inhabit will expire. But in essence, we're eternal. And as spiritual beings, eternal spiritual beings, we cannot die. So he responded, then why is death so horrible? Have you personally faced death? Nature teaches the opposite of what you said. Everything fights to live. And I responded with, I'm a cancer survivor. Most are spiritually unconscious and therefore fear death because they believe that death is the end rather than a transition. So, again, another question. What kind of wacko, whatever, or whoever set up painful deaths are you believing in? If you don't believe the Bible answers, then I would like to hear who or what would set up a system where you have to die, perhaps painfully. And so this is my response. Those of you that know me know where I'm going with this. You can't pin this one on God. You have to take responsibility for what goes on here in the physical realm and with your life. So the way I answered him was, the short answer is that everything in the physical world is a manifestation of our collective consciousness. Now, I mentioned the Bible in there, so I went on. Jesus overcame the world because he was spiritually conscious. When he said, these things I do, you too shall do, and even greater, he was referring to a time when we will all spiritually awaken and therefore manifest heaven on earth. So I thought that one was really good. Definitely some food for thought there. Hi, Susan. Thank you, Cheryl. Nice. Nice. Full recovery. See how that works? Isn't that great? The second question of the week was interesting because I usually don't get into this part of the spirituality. But if I'm asked, I will. So this one, the question was, the day my sister passes, I'm taking photos of flowers that mean sadness. Explain, because there must be something or someone. And then in the same question went on, please explain this one. My granddad passes. I see his head in a radiant glow 5 minutes before mom comes up crying. Please explain. So what I told her was that as you spiritually awaken, your awareness expands beyond the human psyche. beyond common consciousness. To spiritually unconscious, this awareness is beyond their reality. And so they may fear it or refer to it as psychic abilities. In truth, the more you awaken, the more your awareness expands. On some level, you knew that your sister had passed, and that's why you were attracted to those flowers. In a way, you were communicating with her. She was telling you that even in death and sadness, there is beauty. Similarly, you were communicating with your grandfather. He wanted you to know he is all right and not to worry. All right, so there's the questions of the week. And with that, we're going to roll right into, hey, Ray, how's it going? Balancing human and being, meaning spiritual being. So life is about balance. Naturally, or I should say nature naturally balances. For example, there are solar, lunar, and seasonal cycles. On the other hand, humans can create significant disturbances or peace. We're unique in that way. We don't just live in the circle of life and in balance. We have free will and we can manifest in this realm. We are manifesting this realm. But we can do so in a peaceful manner, or we can do so in a very disruptive manner. So the thing is that in the human condition, we're both physical and spiritual. We're spiritual beings, but we're temporarily inhabiting these skin suits. So we also have free will. And the secret to life as a human being is to balance your non-physical spiritual being with your physical human body, bridging the realm of formlessness to the realm of physical form. Now, energy can be that bridge because energy exists in both states. So you have an energy field. It comes with consciousness. And your energy field, and in fact, even the mind body has an energy field as an extension of that. And it can be measured with scientific instruments, by the way. Even people that are totally unaware of this, completely spiritually unconscious, atheist, it doesn't matter. You can take sensitive scientific instruments and measure their energy several feet out from their body. And people that are of, hold higher consciousness can project much further and become aware of much more. That's kind of what I was getting at in the questions of the week. So this energy, because it exists in both the physical and non-physical realms, can be the bridge. Now, your energy field corresponds to your level of consciousness, and it influences everything and everyone around you. When you're spiritually conscious, your essence flows freely, your spiritual essence, that is, flows freely into the physical world. But you've been conditioned into believing that you're nothing more than a bag of bones with a brain. And this blocks transcendence into higher states of consciousness. The other thing about that field, as long as we're talking about it, is that field actually, this is why I don't buy into all this, for $999, I'll teach you how to manifest a Cadillac. I could do that kind of stuff with you guys, but that's really not where it's at. And to be honest, if you don't already know, as you transcend into higher states of consciousness, that stuff becomes more like a trinket, to be honest. Your energy field attracts things into your life. And so, because your energy field is corresponding to the level of consciousness you hold, you'll attract accordingly. So as you start transcending into higher and higher states of consciousness, you don't have to worry about the material stuff. It takes care of itself. You'll have what you need and more. You don't even think about it. The field does the work. People tend to think that they like to control things. That's the ego. That's not spirit. And that's really doesn't have too much to do with your energetic field. That's the ego. That's not being aware of your authentic consciousness, much less transcending into higher states of consciousness. Because the level of consciousness you hold, it's not like you learn it. You don't read books or go to seminars and learn this stuff. The level of consciousness that you hold is what you are. And so transcending into higher states of consciousness isn't really something you become. You're already it. You're just becoming more aware of your true essence. And as you do, the falsehoods fall away and you transcend into higher states. And so what you are influences that field, and that field is what does all of the attracting. So that's really how the manifesting works. It's not, for most part, even a conscious thing. It's just a byproduct of having consciousness. And the level of consciousness you have is going to determine what you're going to attract. Hi, Mahmood. Last night I saw infinite pink light at the end of the tunnel, red light and blue and green. What was that? That's an interesting question. I can only tell you that people interpret energy the way they interpret energy, and that may change over your lifetime, and it may change on your spiritual journey as you move into higher and higher states of consciousness. Things like auras and seeing lights and these kind of stuff, it's the way you're perceiving energy. And so I can't tell you exactly what it means, only that you're starting to perceive things different than you did before, which was as a more limited human being. Now, you may not I wouldn't get too caught up in it, because it might be something that lasts. It might be something that passes. You might just start understanding things, but people seem to understand energy differently. Some people hear God talking to them. Some people see things, they get visions. It's not quite the same as, let's see, when you look out into the world, though. It's more of a spiritual sight. It's like the spiritual eye, the spiritual ear, hearing things. If you really thought that, there was this, well, I won't even say that, because how you interpret the energy is how you interpret it. But you are perceiving energy, and probably and possibly more accurately than you are with the human eyes. So I'd like to be able to tell you more about that, but I just don't, without knowing more, I couldn't begin to tell you. But a lot of people, as they begin to awaken, do describe seeing colors. Hi, Gail. Insecurities. Yes, we have insecurities, and they create spiritual blocks. Fear. We'll get into that some night. That goes way deep. Kim says you were probably tired. Well, it could have been. And sometimes if there's pressure on the eyes, it'll cause the rods and cones, which are in the back of the eyeball, to stimulate and see things. But assuming that's none of those things, you're perceiving energy, and that's just how you happen to be perceiving it. In other words, it's how you're able to understand it at this time. Some people see auras. Some people just know. Some people see angels. Some people just get divine guidance. It's just like they feel like they're being pulled a certain way. So there's lots of different ways you can understand spirit, but remember, it's all beyond the physical world. So we're in a physical body, and we're perceiving something that's non-physical. So it can be a lot of different things. What I would do is, when those types of things happen, if you're wondering what it's all about, just relax and ask. Just ask spirit. Say, what is this? What is this you're trying to show me? How would you have me see this? You may get an answer right then. You may get an answer the following day. You may get an answer when you're dreaming at night, but you will be answered. You can always ask for guidance, and that's actually what I recommend, because 100 different people can see that, and it could mean different things for each one of them. Gil says, ego form of control is our insecurities. Yes, because when you're insecure, you feel like things are out of control, and so you try to compensate by controlling things. When that's just ego. That's all that is. It's focusing intensely on the physical world. The spiritual view would be, things are going to be whatever they're going to be, and I don't really control any of it, and so you don't sweat it. Kim says, I believe what we need to know comes in ways we understand individually. And that's very true. It's very true. Well, you're welcome. And I hope that helped. So, where were we? We were talking about the energy field being corresponding to your level of consciousness. And that's what's doing the attracting. And the thing is that the world conditions us to believe that we're limited creatures, and that we're disconnected from each other, and we're disconnected from God. And when we start believing that stuff, we build spiritual walls, preventing our own spiritual evolution. And speaking of the ego, that when we depend too much on the physical world, and we consider it reality, and we think that the whatever we're perceiving, be it light or sound, is all that there is. The more we identify with the physical world, the more limited we become, and the greater the blocks are, the energetic blocks are to spiritual awakening. Full recovery, awesome. Gil says it's very hard to get hold of the concept. It is, because we've been conditioned. We've basically been brainwashed into believing something, and frankly, 95% of the world rolls with that. And so, you look like you're insane if you don't go with the flow, when it's the exact opposite. The world is in darkness, and there are relatively few that are beginning to see the light. And the light is the answer. The light is the answer to the darkness. But the consensus is that the darkness is what it is, and it'll always be that way, and it always has been that way. And if you believe that, then you're blocking yourself from higher realities. Hi, Chris. Kim's asking, do you think that if God limited our free will, that we would be in the mess we are in today? No, we would not be in the mess that we're in today. But here's the thing. It would be worthless. There would be no point in supreme consciousness expanding and then limiting that expansion. That expansion is to express this consciousness in entirety. And so you can kind of look at this world that way. I'll do a live on this. I will. This is another one of those ones I got to do a live on. Levels of consciousness. Because the earth realm, the physical realm, is the low level, the lowest. It really is. In a lot of ways, we're capable of doing things that, I'll do a live on it, but let me put it to you this way. Until we get our act together, higher beings can't go anywhere either. Because ultimately we're all one spirit. But no, if God limited us and our free will, or limited our free will, no, we would not be in the mess that we're in, because the mess that we're in is because of our free will, and that we've chose to identify with the physical world. When we descended into matter, we kind of lost. Spiritual amnesia is a good way to look at it. That's a great metaphor. That we suffer from spiritual amnesia, forget who we are. What makes people like Buddha different is that he is not so much remembered, because but it's kind of like that. It has nothing to do with the brain or memories, but he realized who he was and what he was, as did Jesus, even to a higher level. That's what that was all about. And that's how he overcame the world. He was spiritual consciousness, whereas we're more identified with the physical realm. So the point being that he could limit, consciousness, God, spirit, whatever, could limit our free will and prevent us from messing things up. But then there really wouldn't be much value in that, because the whole point of the expression of this consciousness is to express it in its entirety, starting at the bottom and going all the way back home. You can look at it that way, a journey. And unless we choose it of our own free will, then we really have not become it. And there's a big difference between understanding it on an intellectual level and being it. When you are it, then you are that consciousness and you manifest accordingly. And when you kind of understand it and think it, you're going to manifest whatever you are. You might be playing with higher realities with the intellect, but until you become them, you're not going to manifest them. And so you have to be allowed the space to blow it, and blow it miserably. And it's in learning from that and choosing something different that the truth is revealed, that God is revealed. And that's where a lot of people get confused, and they want to blame God for this kind of stuff, and it's not on God. We did this, and we're the ones that are going to fix it. And God's just patiently waiting. God knows the truth. It's like, man, oh boy. All right, so we suffer from spiritual amnesia. We all do. Still, we use our body to move in and around the physical realm and the human condition of time and space. But you're much more than this bag of bones, and deep within, you know it. And that's when you start to have these weird sensations. When you start to wake up, you start having weird sensations and realizations. And that might be what those lights are. You might be starting to become aware of some expanded consciousness. And at this moment, that's just how you're perceiving this energy. You say it's at the end of the tunnel, but that might just be your consciousness is expanding beyond your body. And so that's the way you're perceiving it. You're perceiving energy out there. It's really within, but you're perceiving, the beginning is to know that there's something else than what we take as reality. So you're looking out into reality, but you're also seeing something else. So there's something else out there. It's all really within here, but that's an even deeper conversation. The beginning is just understanding that this isn't it. The physical realm is not where it begins and ends. Human life is not where it begins and ends. Our birth and our death is not the beginning and end of us. That's the first thing to understand. So spiritual consciousness is like I said about God. Spiritual consciousness is there waiting for you, whether you realize it or not. You can't be anything than what you are. Now, you can believe yourself to be something else, but that doesn't make it so. It's more just pretend. It's delusional thinking. That's all it is. It's the reason for most of the confusion and the suffering in the world. When you deny your true essence, you live in this dream state. But on some level, you do know. All of you that are here tonight that show up and have these conversations and read the posts, on some level know. And that's why you're being attracted to it, or it's being attracted to you. It's all one event. And you're probably also getting the feeling that there's something wrong with what's going on here. You know, maybe you can't put your finger on it, but there's something wrong. There's something screwy about all of this. And so you keep searching and searching and searching. You know, you go to church, you read books, you go to Facebook Lives. But the thing is that until you awaken, you're trapped in this dreamlike state. That's why we call it the awakening. So you'll keep searching, but you're only going to find once you awaken from the dream. And you awaken from the dream through conscious living, and then using your awareness to keep yourself balanced and centered. So first you balance your spiritual essence or your soul with your human body. Realize that you're both. You're really just the one, but in the human condition, you're in a physical body, almost like you go to get in a car to drive somewhere. You're not the car, it's the vehicle you're traveling in. That's what I mean. You know, so don't identify with the mind body. This is who I am. I'm this body, I'm this mind. No, you're not. I'm these thoughts, I'm these emotions. No, you're not. I'm this role that I play here and this role that I play there. No, you're not. Personality, the mind body has nothing to do with who you are. It's just the game of life. That's all it is. It's getting pixelated. Well, okay. So the energy's wonky. What can I say? It happens. But some get so much into spirituality, you know, they kind of get turned on to it, and they're like, yeah. Once they really start getting it, they get so much into spirituality that they neglect their human form, and some of them even neglect their human life. And this is an imbalance, just as denying your spiritual essence and living exclusively in your ego is an imbalance. They both go hand in hand in the human condition. It's okay if you want to wear beads and patchouli oil and burn Nag Champa and chant mantras. That's fine. But that doesn't have anything to do with who you are. And focusing on all that stuff is distracting you from your spiritual awakening. You know, when you use decorations, or you use whatever aromatherapy, or you break out a deck of tarot cards, whatever your thing is, when you use those things, it's a tool to connect you to your higher self. That's all. There's no magic in them. It's just a tool to help connect you to your higher self. When you get to the point to where you don't need that tool anymore, you just put it away and you're just there. You already know. You don't need the tools anymore. It's kind of like in meditation. You know, there's different ways to meditate. The focusing devices are just to get you started and get you distracted from your mind body long enough to experience something other than your mind body. Some people have never done that. You know, we talk about this spiritual awakening. Some people have never even for a second, had an experience other than their mind body. And so we have these tools that we use in the beginning stages of meditation to help connect you. Once you're there and you don't need, you can just go there at will, or you're just there all the time, even better still, eventually you'll get there. Then you don't need those tools anymore. So you put them away. Hi, Bonnie. So if you take away the body and personality, what are we? We are spirit. We're a non physical consciousness, conscious energy. Being non physical, there's no matter involved, non physical. By definition, is no physicality. To have time and space, you have to have physicality. It gets into physics and all this kind of fancy stuff, but basically, matter is interdependent with time and space. If there's no matter, then there's no time and space, which is why this consciousness is eternal, or spirit, however you want to see it, is eternal because it's not limited by time and space. And that's what we are. Actually, when you get right down to it, at the end of the day, there's just one spirit and we're all part of it. It's only here. Well, there's higher realms that there's some separation, but not as much as here. It's only here when everything is separate. We're not connected to each other. We're not connected to God. And you see the problem? When you believe that, how are you ever going to find God? God's not lost. But if you believe that you're not part of that, then how are you ever going to be part of that? You see? So we are what we are, and what we are, we'll work with that in the future. This idea of consciousness and how you can, in some of the meditations I do once in a while, I'll try to connect you to that, help you connect to that, teach you how to connect with that, and so you can experience it. But basically, when you're sitting in meditation, you have those moments where you're observing your mind body, you're observing your thoughts, you're observing your emotions. You can't be those things because you're observing them. In other words, if you're watching television, you're not the television and you're not anything on the television. You're the observer. Well, it's the same thing in meditation. When you're sitting there and you're observing your thoughts and emotions, you're observing the mind body, you're observing this energy, you're observing whatever comes into your awareness. You're not those things. Because if you were, you wouldn't be observing them. You're the observer. And so you exist beyond all those things, which is non-physical, meaning you're not limited by time and space, meaning that you're eternal. So that's kind of a way to understand it. Now, it's okay to have all those things. We're here not to ignore it, and that's kind of the point of this live, is to balance your spiritual self and your human body, your skin suit, whatever you want to call it. The mind body is usually what I call it. Temporarily we're in it, but we are not it. And that's what you have to keep in mind. Mind body, keep in mind. It gets a little weird, but it's because it's beyond words. It's beyond the intellect. You can't really understand it. You have to experience it. We can talk about it all day long, but that's not it. We're talking about it. The only way to understand it is to experience it, which is to be it. And just saying you love patchouli oil. Gil, what happens when we die? Woo! We'll do a whole live on that one. But the physical body expires. Everything in the physical world, if you understand nothing else about it, understand that everything here is temporary. It's in a constant state of change, which is why none of it's the truth. Maybe partial truths, but they can't be the truth because they're always changing. The truth doesn't change. It always is what it is. And the only thing that is spirit. So what happens when we die? It's kind of like let me give you this metaphor, a metaphor of life. You come through a doorway from some other realm into the physical realm. That's your birth. But it's kind of like you're coming through a door and then you walk across the room, and that's your life. And then you exit out the other door. The mind body stays here, but you go on. So you don't die, the mind body expires. But you weren't even born. Your soul is an eternal spiritual being. It came into this world already as that, and it leaves as the same thing. It's eternal. It always is what it is. It always has been. It always will be. So there's no birth. There's no death. Those are things that happen in the physical realm. The cycle of birth, life, death. Now, when we die, probably everybody here is coming back because there's this thing called karma, and don't get all hung up on karma. It's not really that important. But what's important is the mechanics of it. So everything you think, everything you say, everything you do in this world that is judgmental or an opinion or even thoughts and emotions create karma, because there's consequences for all of those things. Another way to look at karma is consequence. For every action, there's a reaction. It's basic physics. But in a spiritual sense, we refer to it as karma. So until all of that is cleared, and you can think of it as life lessons, you can think of it as clearing your karma, but the one thing you want to do is try not to generate any more. So always be the highest version of yourself that you can be at any moment. Try to work through as much of the stuff as you can in this lifetime, so that it's possible to ascend in this lifetime. But most of us won't, because we still have some baggage we haven't cleared, and until we do, we're not ready to go home. So it may vary a little bit. You might get a little bit of a timeout, a breather, catch your breath, so to speak, before you come back in. But most people are going to be back until we're really ready to ascend. And even then, most of us will come back to assist the others, because there really aren't any others. And until everybody awakens, no one's going home, which we'll get into in that other live, where I get into angels and aliens and all this kind of stuff, all these different levels of consciousness, all these different types of beings. We're all stuck here because we've identified with this place and accepted it as reality. So we have to kind of undo that. But that's it, not to stress over, not to worry about. You just do your best and keep on keeping on, and you'll be fine. There's no punishment. It just, the worst thing that can happen is you prolong your own spiritual evolution, and so you suffer more. That's all. In each one of your incarnations, you'll suffer more because you haven't moved on to higher lessons. Excellent question. But we'll do a live on that, and we'll get into it much deeper. Arkansas. You're welcome. Yeah, we've been watching a bunch of meteorites out here. Right. Kim brings up the point about energy. So if you think about the energy that animates you, consciousness, that's conscious energy, again, going back, even basic physics understands this, that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just transfers from one state to another. So your soul transferred into physical form, descended into matter, manifested itself in flesh and bone, hung out for a while, and then moved on. Once the spirit leaves the body's done. It just goes back into cosmic dust. Ah, Mahmoud, you're seeing the meteor shower. It's great. Some of them are really bright. Kathy says it's like a butterfly to the cocoon. Exactly. Exactly. So there's this metamorphosis that takes place. Gil says we are a reflection of ourselves when interacting with others. Exactly. Exactly. And you're seeing yourself or a version of yourself in other people, by the way. So, when you, I'll just drop a little spiritual truth. This is kind of a little high level stuff, but how you judge others is how you're judging yourself. You hate somebody, you're hating yourself. Have compassion for them. You don't have to condone hurtful behavior. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you are of the opinion that they're less than, or that they're to be hated or disliked or harmed in some way, you're harming yourself. That's what Jesus meant when he was on the cross and he said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." They were literally killing themselves in their fear and rejection of the truth. They thought they were killing Jesus. They were killing themselves much more than Jesus. Jesus knew who he was. He was like, "This is nothing. This isn't even real. I'll be fine. Don't cry for me." He knew what was up. They didn't. They were more dead. They were more dead than he was even after he passed. You get it? Kim says, when you judge others, you judge yourself. Both opinions are wrong. Exactly. Because they're based in the falsehoods of the physical world. They're based in a non-reality. I mean, technically it's a reality, but it's a sub-reality, and it's based on falsehoods. We'll talk about that sometime too. Each one of these questions is great because I can do a whole live just on that. But let's try and wrap this up. This whole idea of balancing. So you awaken from the dream, this dream state, through conscious living and using your awareness to keep yourself balanced or centered. So first you balance your spiritual essence with your body. And you don't get too much into spirituality, but you don't overindulge in the physical stuff either. And there's a reason why you find yourself in human existence. You're not here in the human condition to ignore it. You're here to master it, which means to live a life as a human while expressing your highest self through your human form. In essence, your spirit and form, you're human. However, when living a balanced physical existence, you're both. So to be balanced, you must embrace both. To do otherwise blocks your spiritual evolution. Now, if you deny the physical stuff, you block your spiritual evolution. But if you identify with it, you block your spiritual evolution. Balance. Balance. Therefore, human existence without spiritual consciousness is lame. It just is. But consciousness cannot evolve to higher levels of consciousness without wholeness. So while you're in human form, wholeness means embracing your entire human life. Good, bad, hungry, full, fat, thin, whatever it is. When you do this with spiritual consciousness, you perfect being human. And as you learn, you grow into a higher self. You transcend through levels of consciousness into higher levels of consciousness. You can't skip over them because you must master one to shift into the next. There's no judgment, just accountability. In other words, consequences or karma. And as you shift into higher states of consciousness, your energetic field rises accordingly. The field influences life. And when you're ready, you transcend. Not because you've earned it, not because you've achieved it, but because you've become it. Actually, you've self-realized you're already it. You just don't know it. There's no cheating because you can't fake higher consciousness. You can say all the right words and wear all the right clothes and look the part and talk the part. But your life won't manifest that of a spiritual master until you're a spiritual master. It's that simple. Delusional thinking is not higher consciousness. It's just delusion. It's make-believe. So there's a few quotes I'll read and then we'll close up. For every tree is known by its own fruit. That was Jesus Christ. We attract what we are, not what we want. Dr. Wayne Dyer. Be the change you want to see in the world. Gandhi. So all of them are talking about the same thing. Consciously, you are your level of consciousness, and your field manifests accordingly. These things I do, you too shall do, and even greater. Again, that was Jesus. Now, Jesus said this because we are the ones who will create heaven on earth. A tall order. But when we connect to spiritual source, open the door, and when the greater good flows through us, we will create heaven on earth. And that's what he was talking about. He saw the future. He knew what was going to happen, and he knew we were the ones that were going to do it. In fact, we have to. Everybody else is stuck until we do. So they're all looking to us. All the other types of beings are looking to us. You want to know why angels and aliens visit? Because they're looking to us to do something. And until we do, they can't ascend either. They're stuck where they are. We'll get into that some other time. That's a really cool, interesting topic. But when our highest self emerges, we can't be anything else. We can't create anything else. Because we're not humans trying to have a spiritual experience. We're immortal spiritual beings temporarily in the human condition. We're human beings. And when we balance the two, we create heaven on earth. And that's how it'll happen. So let me check for last minute questions, and then we'll move on to a quick healing circle and call it a night. Kim says growing pains. It's exactly what they are. Gil, how do you get past that, though? It begins by being open to the possibility that you're more than this and that there is more than this. And when you're open to that possibility, you're going to start being given some divine knowledge. And in time, you'll gain greater understanding and it'll all start making more and more sense. The beginning's a little weird, but just accept a few simple truths. You know somewhere within you that you're more than this. You know that the stuff that I say, you're attracted to it for some reason. So there's got to be some truth in there. So just accept that there's things that, are more, there's more to this than what you thought. Just start there and then ask for guidance. It's always available. You can't, that's the whole thing about all this. We can't disconnect from God because we're part of God. We've never left. We're home. We just don't believe it. That's the problem. And so we have to undo our misbeliefs. And then we'll realize the truth and we'll be home, which is where we've always been. We've never went anywhere. So just know that, you're going to get there. Everyone's going to get there. Because again, you can't be anything other than what you are. And you are an eternal spiritual being. And on some level, you know it. The rest of it will come in its own time. But you can always ask for guidance. Everything I do. A lot of times I'm just in the flow. I just do what I do. But if I do have any questions, it doesn't matter what it is. Which one's the right bell pepper to pick at the produce section? Someone's commenting in a rude fashion. If I don't just flow with it, then I ask, Spirit, how would you have me see this? What would you have me say? What would you have me do? And then that's what I do. I don't question it anymore. I used to question it. I don't question it anymore. I know better. And you'll get there too. But you can always ask for that guidance. Always. When someone is hurtful, how do you get past that? Understand that if humans are anything, they're imperfect. And they make a lot of mistakes. They make a lot of poor choices. And they have a lot of, for the most part, they're irrational beings. They're very conditioned. They've been brainwashed into believing nonsense. And they have a lot of emotional baggage, which they project out onto the world without even realizing it. It's all done subconsciously. So that's how you get past it. You just forgive them because you understand that's not even them that's doing it. It's the part of them that's broken. It's not them. It's their pain that's being projected. That's what it is. Trey saying so many people struggling with ego and higher. Oh, that's funny. Oh, it's great. Yep, that's it. If you like him says, hit the pause. If you'll know if you have to question it, then it's probably not a good idea. All right, so let's do the healing circle. Let me get this up. There we go. Everybody gather around, form a circle, join hands. Nice, comfortable, upright position. Eyes and mouths gently closed in a circle, joining hands. Breathing in through the nose, way down to an area just below the belly button, and then exhale back out through the nose. Again, deep breath. Breathe in the peace. And then exhale all tension. Breathe in peace. And exhale all troublesome thoughts, stress, disease, etc. Breathe in light. And exhale darkness. All right, continue breathing on your own. And what I want you to do is follow the breath as it moves in and out of your body. Just consciously follow the breath in and out of your body. And then see if you notice your energy expanding or your consciousness expanding or a sensation that you're beyond the boundaries of your skin. Maybe through your hands, we're spiritually holding hands, maybe through your hands into others, we're sharing that energy. We're actually embracing each other. There's a play with energy going on here. See if you can become aware of that. Not to get too caught up on it or focused on it, but just be aware of it. So your energy expanding beyond your body. And then see if you can just consciously follow it. Now, if you can do this, then that's evidence that you're not your mind body. It's called an out of body experience. But your consciousness, your awareness is beyond your body all the time, whether you're aware of that or not. You are much bigger than the mind body. So follow your energy down through your feet. Now this takes some visualization. Follow your energy down through your feet into Mother Earth, like roots at the base of a tree, like roots coming out of your feet, going down into the ground and spreading out to the entire planet so that you're connected to all parts of Mother Earth. You're one. Now again, visualize it up from the crown, the very top of your head, going up above the healing circle, up into the skies, and out into space, your energy, your consciousness expanding into the heavens until the entire universe is within your consciousness. And then move beyond. Just like you moved beyond your skin, move beyond the edges of the universe consciously, still with roots from your feet embracing the entire planet. And now what I want you to do is use your body as a bridge or a conduit. Bridge the earthly energies with the heavenly energies. Connect the two. And then let spirit flow through you into the world. Breathe it in. You are it. And it is you. Pure consciousness. You are. We are. There is no self. There is no other. There is no pain. There is no suffering. There is no disease. There is only the illusion and the reality. Let's sit with that for about a minute and then we'll close. Okay, before we close, remember, maintain that bridge connected to the entire planet, connected to the heavens, bridging the two, using your consciousness, your body, your life force, your energy to bridge the two, allowing the heavenly energies to flow down into the physical world, all parts of it through you. You are it, and it is you. You are, we are. There is no self. There is no other. There is no pain. There is no suffering. There is no disease. There is only the illusion and the reality of spirit. And so it is. Slowly open your eyes. And let me put that down. I'm glad that was helpful, Gil. And that's how you can see it. And it's the truth, you know. And so when you see it that way, then I mean, you can. I don't want to, you don't look down to people. They say, "Oh, feel sorry for them or take pity on them." You can be empathetic to their situation. It's not that they're less than; it's that they're in pain and they're broken, and they will eventually awaken and heal. If there's something you can say or do in a loving way, then you do it, and if not, then not. But at least you forgive them, so you're not holding them to that anymore. You're not participating in them being that way. Right? Hi, Abdush. How you doing? Spirituality is a part of religion. Yes. Yes. The difference is that religions have rules and rituals that you have to follow, just like science. Whereas spirituality is able to move beyond the physical realm, move beyond the limitations, move beyond and question everything. So there's a little bit of difference, but yes, all religion is an attempt to understand and connect you to God. Happily holding hands. Spirituality, it's a God thing. Exactly. That was well put. All right, you're all welcome. Kim's reminding you to drink a full glass of water. Looks like you guys got something out of that. That's great. That's the idea. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people on Facebook that do things. Um, uh, you're welcome to come here, join us. You know, you can follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. We do this Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. California time. If you miss it, you can watch the replay. You can still ask questions. I'll answer them. Besides us, I mean, you can look around and do searches. One guy that I like, and you may find him interesting. He has a good handle on spirituality. He does it a little differently than I do. Kind of goofy, makes it fun. But his name is Michael Murdad, and he's out of the Global Center for Christ Consciousness in Sedona, Arizona, and they are on Facebook and YouTube. All right, everybody, you're all quite welcome. And I honor the God within you. I always say that. I've got myself programmed to say that. And you know what I mean to say? I honor God within you. Uh, I will train myself. It's kind of like reprogramming your subconscious. You know, you get programmed a certain way. So I got to do that with that. I honor God within you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good. Good night.